A small glass vial, not much bigger than a peach. Inside of it, a clear liquid with flakes of pure metal floating around. You uncork it and drink its contents in one single gulp. The metal flakes lightly scratch your tongue and your throat. Swallowing metal like that would poison most people. But not you, oh no. Moments after you drink the liquid, you feel something inside of you, an almost physical sensation, as if a ghost balloon had just been inflated somewhere within the halls of your body. You concentrate, reach for it, and burn it. It ignites immediately. You can feel an odd, distant heat. You can feel the reserve diminishing. You can feel the power it provides. Mistborn's Alamancy is one of those stellar examples of magic systems, and particularly hard magic systems, the ones that are more rule-oriented and thus easier to predict and to project. And one of the things that makes it so good is that the author, Sanderson, really understands human imagination and also how to use language to facilitate that imagination. A lesson we could all benefit from. Let's talk about magic systems. World building is not a skill that you can improve just by reading books or by playing games or by watching movies. You must try your hand, you must exercise your own unique creativity. And that's the whole point of this series here, the Worldbuilding Tower. Together we explore fantastic pieces of media with incredible worlds, and from there I extract an exercise that will allow you to create your own unique solution and to try your hand, your brain at the same exercise as a lot of different people are trying. So we grow individually, yes, but also we grow as a community of creators. You might have noticed that for a couple of episodes now I have different scenarios and things look and sound different. I'm sorry that I can't keep the quality always pristine. I'm living a moment of intense personal turmoil right now. I don't think I should discuss the details of that publicly here on YouTube, but it's been rough and I'm doing my best, but it's rough. And thank you for being here, because one of the things that do me a lot of good, that it provides a lot of healing, is notice that I can still record those videos, that I'm not paralyzed, at least here. So thank you for participating in my journey of healing. You'll notice that this episode has a lot of fan art, which makes sense, right? Mistborn is a book that doesn't come with a movie or a game to provide imagery for the video. So I contacted a bunch of artists who were super generous and provided me with those lovely images I'm gonna use throughout the video. And be sure that if you like what you see, in the description below you will find a link to those artists' ArtStation pages, and you'll be able to follow them because of course their work is fantastic. Look at that. Magic systems are just one aspect of world building, which is just one tool in the writer's toolbox. It's important that we artists never lose track of that. To begin today's exploration, allow me to introduce a particular writing lens. I'm not claiming that this is the only way to see writing, but I am claiming that delving into this one path is insightful. According to Nalo Hopkinson, quote, "Fiction engages the senses, helps us create vivid mental simulacra of the experiences the characters are having." End quote. This is crucial. Fiction is not trying to describe the world accurately. but instead it's trying to create mental simulacra, to generate a simulation of that world that can be engaged with the senses, even if those senses are just operating inside your mind. In other words, when you read about the smell of honey, the part of your brain that is activated is the exact same part that fires up when you actually smell honey. And it is to your advantage to use this knowledge. This is very important. Keep that in your mind forever. Okay, with our lens now defined, let's talk about Allomancy. Allomancy is one of the multiple magic systems in the Mistborn series, and it is complex. Honestly, I'm just gonna talk about the very basics of Alamancy here. I'm not gonna delve into the details and evolutions and Dragon Ball Z power-ups that come as the series evolve. I don't even think this video deserves a proper spoiler tag. The 101 is just enough for us to explore Sanderson's mental simulacra, which is really what we're looking for here. Here is how it works. Certain people have a genetic connection with certain metals. Just like I described in the intro of this video, once they ingest those metals, they feel this reserve of power inside of them that they can burn to activate magical abilities. The choice of words is already pointing us in a great direction here. To burn something inside of you is much more descriptive than just to activate or trigger. But let's not focus there, let's talk about the different powers. Allomancy comes in 8 basic flavors, and those are distributed in 4 pairs. I'll start with pewter and tin, because those are the easiest to picture. When an Allomancer is burning pewter, they're increasing their strength, their fortitude, their healing capabilities, their muscular power. It's easy to picture that one, right? This thing is really hard to lift. I'm gonna burn pewter. It's easier to lift now. Tin, on the other hand, is all about perception. When burning tin, all your 5 senses are instantly boosted. You can see in the dark, you can hear quiet sounds clearly. Even your pain feels much stronger than what it actually is. Mental simulacra here is easy. Those powers are very sensation focused to begin with. So all the text needs to do is to tell us what the characters are experiencing when they're burning the metals. Simple. Now let's go for copper and bronze. When burning copper, an Allomancer creates a copper cloud. A power that prevents other Allomancers from detecting the use of metals in a certain area. Bronze does the opposite. It is a metal that, when burned, detects Allomancy. And each of the metals, each of the powers, is perceived as a rhythmic pulse, each with its own characteristic tempo. The wording here is very clever. The copper cloud is not really a cloud, it's not a physical thing, it's immaterial. But by choosing this metaphor, we have one of our senses to latch onto. We imagine an invisible cloud. Later in the series, and that's a micro spoiler, a very tiny spoiler, but if you're really against it, you can skip 20 seconds of the video. Here it goes. One of the characters figures out a way to pierce copper clouds. Pay attention to the language. You pierce a cloud to sense a thumping pulse. The words are making this very abstract interaction sound much less abstract. Now we go to the, in my humble opinion, coolest but also worst described metals. Zinc and brass, the emotional metals. Burning brass allows you to suppress emotions. Burning zinc allows you to expand emotions. And though I think the interactions are fascinating, they're described in the most abstract fashion of them all. When you read about a brass Allomancer practicing their powers, you read their soothing fear or soothing anger. The zinc burners are rioting passion or rioting trust. The word choice here, the soothing and rioting, paired with the inherently abstract names of emotions, they don't help my mental simulacra nearly as much as a copper cloud or tin's night vision. But now we go to the last pair, which is the most revealing for our learning purposes. Steel and iron do essentially the same thing, but in opposite directions. Steel pushes metal away from you, and iron pulls metal towards you. This sounds easy enough, but particularly in action scenes where there's a lot going on in a sequence, describing and imagining those powers can get really tricky. So Sanderson added something here that, to my writer senses, and I might be wrong here, fine, it feels like a second draft edition. Something that's much less about serving the story of the book and much more about guiding the reader's imagination. When you burn iron or steel, a series of pale blue lines, invisible to anyone but yourself, sprout from your body in the direction of each metal piece surrounding you. You mentally tug those lines to push and pull. That doesn't make any sense, but it does help me imagine the scene. How many times there was a character flying in the air, then they burn iron, the lines pop up, they follow one of those lines with their eyes, and at the end of the line they find a metal window frame. I can picture that. It's not some crazy gravitational abstraction. It is an image I can mentally grasp. And I think this mixture between careful word choice and metaphors, plus the addition of blunt devices like the pale blue lines, these hard visual aids when needed, is one of the factors that makes Allomancy so beloved. Yes, the powers can be very abstract, but as long as mental simulacra is created, there's no problem. So now, let's try our hand. Today's exercise is all about making the abstract tangible. But since we're all magic enthusiasts, and since we're all drawing inspiration from Mistborn, we're going to apply that to an abstract magic system. Test your imagination. How metaphysical can you get? How does that magic work? How does one wield it? No point in shooting fireballs or transforming into animals. Those things are already pretty sensorial. We want something really intangible, like time or sadness or gravity. If you want some inspiration, go listen to some Invisibilia episodes. Link to the podcast in the description of the video. Also, there's no need to get into the meticulous details of your magic, because we're really here to practice step 2, which is making the abstract concrete. How can you create a simple sensorial metaphor, one that makes it easy for your readers to engage with this complex idea you're proposing? Remember to use the 5 senses, one or all of them. And that's all there is to today's exercise, just 2 steps. And I encourage you to spend much more time on the latter. And with that, we go to the last part of this video, my take on this exercise. Just one possibility out of infinite for this exercise, one stepping stone in my own writing journey, and I hope to see your own exercises, your own world buildings in the comments. Okay, let's go for it. I created not one solution to this exercise, but 2. The one that I'm showing here is the more Mistborny of the 2. I'm really following the Sanderson vibe and trying to create a metal that could fit in a parallel universe version of the Mistborn series. The next one is more my personal style. It's a more Miyazaki-esque magic system, and I'm gonna post it later this week as a Patreon exclusive mini video. It's one new way I'm trying to show my appreciation to my patrons. You folks are the best. Thank you so much. So, without further ado, let's burn some cobalt. Cobalt and its alloy Vitalium, which is a real alloy I found on Wikipedia. They use it for some like dental stuff. Are my own personal response to brass and zinc. They're the argumentative metals. An allomancer burning those metals won't initially feel anything. There's a condition that should be met. And we've seen that before. With iron and steel, this condition is the presence of metal around. With cobalt and Vitalium, it's the presence of disagreement. When 2 people are having an argument, then the Allomancers feel something. The whole point of this exercise is to make things tangible, easy to imagine, sensorial. So the sense I chose to work with is touch. I want to use texture and friction as the basis of my simulacra. Those Allomancers experience any argument as two rough spheres, something like a untreated concrete, rubbing and brushing against each other. They're trying to break, to erode each other, and the more heated the argument is, the more violent is this tactile sensation. Just like with zinc and brass, the Allomancers can't just fabricate this disagreement out of the blue. The argument must already exist, so then they can influence it. When burning cobalt, an Allomancer can make one of those spheres slippery, smooth, agile, avoiding the opposing argument's attacks. Wielders of cobalt are called stubs, which is just a short for stubborn. They protect one's opinions. On the other hand, when an Allomancer burns Vitalion, they can change one of these spheres to become more porous, thorny, viscous, even trying to engulf the opponent's arguments like an amoeba. The wielders of Vitalion, nicknamed turners, can convince people, they can change people's mind, they can destroy previous opinions, as long as the debate lasts long enough so that this viscous sphere can completely engulf the other opinion. Small wonder they are also called traitor makers in private. I think there's something sensorially satisfying about this rubbing of rough structures, this crunchy, erody feeling. And there's also interesting interactions between Cobalt and Vitalion, one of the spheres becoming this spiky net thing and the other one becoming greasy and skippy. It's a conflict that only they can sense. That's it for today, folks. Again, a super thank you to all the artists that contributed to this episode here. They are not only incredibly talented people, but also super generous, super kind people, replying to my email with such warmth. Thank you so much. And as always, a special thank you to my patrons who will have an extra mini video today. I really hope you enjoy that. And I'll see everybody next time. Ciao.